I'm Cindy Larive. Have the pleasure to be Professor of Chemistry and Vice-Provost for Undergraduate Education here at UCR. I get to welcome you, so I hope you feel welcome. Please do not let our parking infrastructure influence your vision of the rest of the day. Yeah, the kiosk, yeah. So this is really an exciting day for all of us to welcome you here, to listen to the innovations that are happening. I hear from Sue, this is the first of what will be annual meetings of the HHMI learning communities. I think this will be a model for other kinds of interactions across the UC system related to STEM education, and I'm really excited to hear from all of you. I'm also excited for you to hear about the exciting things that are happening at UCR. I think in many ways UCR has been a leader in addressing education, excellence, and access for students. We, 2 days ago, welcomed 5,300 freshmen. That's the largest entering class at UCR ever. And 62% of those identify as first-generation college students. That freshman class is majority diverse, with almost half of them identifying as Hispanic Latino, an increase in the number of African American students. And we do not yet know the Pell Grant percentage, but typically that tracks the number of first-generation college students. That all of those categories are an increase over last year, both size and demographics. And so it's going to be, I think, really interesting opportunity to try and help those students now be successful on our campus. And you'll hear some more about the programs we have for student success later in the day. One of the transformative things that's happened at UCR has been the hiring of Sue Wessler. And Sue, both in her innovation in the teaching of biology, but also in bringing faculty together, having discussions, helping to challenge the way that things have been done in the past, and that show how it can be done better with the students that we treasure at UCR, has been really inspirational and transformative to our institution. So with that, I'm pleased to introduce Sue, who will start off the day.
Thank you so much. One of the things that has made it relatively easy for our program to take off, as you'll hear this afternoon, is the environment at UC Riverside. And it's for people like Cindy Larive. It's the administration, it's faculty who are really willing, or who are not just willing, but interested in educating and training our undergraduates. So what I want to do now is to give you the reason why you're here for this meeting, basically who's funding it and why they're funding it. The one thing I do want to say is that everything is being videotaped and recorded, and what that means is that what we're hoping for, we left lots of time for discussion. So in front of each of you, or every 2 or 3 people, or microphones, we request that you use those, and so I'm sure there'll be a lot of, when you ask questions, and so that then will get into the record. So first, before I forget, I wanted to thank the people who are responsible for organizing this meeting. And the lead is Rolf Christofferson, Rolf here. With him is Christopher, everybody has difficult last names. Lemereau, Christopher? Did I do okay with your last name? Thank you. And then it gets easy, then my people, Jim Burnett, who's somewhere in here. Where are you? Right there. And Alex Cortez, who's back there. So thank you all, and now you know the people to go to. No. Everything's going to work very, very well. Famous last words. So I wanted to also, so this program, the HHMI Faculty Learning Community Program, came about when the 4 PIs of research university grants, myself, Paul Koch at UC Santa Cruz, John Matsui at UC Berkeley, and Joel Rothman at UC Santa Barbara, we had our first directors meeting about I guess 2 years ago, right. And the first thing HHMI does is they say, we want to give you more money. So they organize you into these groups. You sort of self-organize into groups, and you decide on your topics. And we decided to form to propose a mini grant, and it was accepted, for a UC faculty learning community. And we did this not knowing really anything about, we knew about from Riverside learning communities, which you'll hear about today. But when we started looking up what faculty learning communities are or were or whatever, it's really, it's a mystery. So one of the things we hope to do today is to solve that mystery. What does it mean to us? What would we like to see? What are the components we would like to see? We decided immediately that we wanted to expand it to the other UCs. And so this is sort of the southern regional UC meeting, and it includes UC San Diego, UC Irvine, UCLA, and UC Merced. I think the only one not represented here is UC Davis, and they will be at the one that we'll probably have next year, which will be the northern one. So the grant covers annual meetings, and this is our first annual meeting. We were a little slow in starting. I think we explained to HHMI that they had just given us all this money for a research university program, and we were just organizing that, and how did they expect us to start another program? So fortunately, with HHMI, they're very generous about carrying over funds. So we're really calling this year one of a 4-year grant. It's really year 2 of a 3-year grant, but as I said, we'll call it what we want to do. It's year 1 of a 4-year grant. Every year there'll be an annual meeting in one of the 4 host organizations, UCs, and there'll be a different topic every year. So the topic this year is really what are we about, and We've tried to bring most of the players to the table, so obviously not just faculty, not research faculty. There are all sorts of new positions that are cropping up all throughout the UC in terms of, getting more, in addition to lecturers or teaching assistants or what have you with LSOEs, teaching professors. So there's all of this stuff, and we hope to kind of hear about those different positions today, because I think we've included a lot of people that represent the different titles, whatever we call it. And I think one of the things we're really looking for are best practices. So we don't want to have to reinvent the wheel. I think the one thing that I have seen, and that many of us see in science education, is that everybody is starting all of these things, and most of them die. And we don't want to see that happen. We absolutely do not want to see that happen. And that's one of the reasons we thought that if this was UC-wide, one of the outcomes, use the right language here, one of the outcomes we would like to see is this be institutionalized through UCOP. And I think that it's the right time for that. And so that's sort of what, that's sort of the big picture of what we'd like to see out of this. So, I'm trying to think anything else. So the goal, not the goal, I'm sorry, the grant covers 2 major things. One is the annual meeting. The other is inter-campus visits. And we do have to further the goals of the project. So we do have significant funds. As I said, we've been really slow spending this money. Plus we have matching funds from each of our universities. So there are funds, so I want you to know about that. So this would be for somebody to go from one campus to the other and give a talk and meet with people and try to cement the ties between the campuses. So, is there anything else I should be mentioning?
Webinars.
Oh,
Webinars.
you know more about that than I do.
Yeah.
Okay, do you want to?
We're planning to do monthly webinars, and I'm hoping, we're planning to do monthly webinars this coming year, and we're hoping to recruit presenters from this room. So I'll be approaching you. Please say yes. And please, when you get the announcement of one, please consider logging in and watching. Okay, they'll be once a month about. Okay?
Any other? No? Okay, I'm looking at my co-PIs here. All right. I think my 10 minutes is up, so I want to. So one of the things that we're bringing into this community are the HHMI professors, because it turns out that the UCs have quite a number of HHMI professors. I'm assuming that most of you know what HHMI professors are. Most of the professors are...
Don't assume that.
Oh, okay.
People don't know.
Okay, fine. Do you want to tell them? Okay, so HHMI, as we all know, is really focused intensely on research, and their big thing of funding investigators who are employees of the universities. It was decided back in 2002 that there was a real crisis in science education, and this largely came from the president at that time of HHMI, Tom Check, who has a real interest in science education. So he thought that the best way, or not he thought, he led a committee that decided that the best way that HHMI could contribute to sort of remedy this situation was to set up a program to have research scientists. So what they wanted is the very best research scientists to go back into the classroom and to bring the excitement of research to undergraduates. And so that started in 2002. My HHMI professorship was in 2006, and I'll be introducing that a little bit in my talk. Most of them are essentially not renewable. So we have to think of ways to institutionalize what we do. And I think the program overall has been hugely successful. It went into sort of a lull for a couple of years as the leadership of HHMI changed. But I think it's very clear now with the leadership of David Asai that they are not only even more interested in science education, but that now instead of, so what HHMI usually does is it focuses on sort of elitism. So with their investigators, with all of that, that has changed dramatically at HHMI. With David Asai's leadership, it has really, they're interested in impact. They're interested in, they realize, and David gave an incredible talk last year at Berkeley on how we have to really ratchet this up, how we have to become, basically they're looking at institutional change, but on a massive scale, because the change is occurring exponentially, whereas what we're doing on campuses is occurring incrementally. And they said it's just not going to work. And we know this year with, as Cindy was mentioning, UC Riverside, our incoming Hispanic students basically jumping from 35% to 48%. And I think Riverside is sort of a bellwether of what happens with the other UCs in terms of diversifying. So I think this is going to spread across all of the UCs, and I think it's a wonderful thing. We just have to be ready for it, because we've seen in the front page of the New York Times and other places that the UCs are now seen as the real great hope for first-generation students. It's sort of a ladder that is disappearing in this country, and we still have that. And I think it's really important that we work hard to not just keep that, but make sure that our students get the very best education, because the privates are getting better and better. And for our students to compete, they have to have access to the very best that are at our universities. So with that, I will stop, and I will introduce our first speaker, another Susan Golden. She's an HHMI professor from UCSD. She's also, I know her well because she's a plant biologist, as I am. And I think the title of her talk is The BioClock Studio, Students Creating Innovative Content to Enhance Courses, Research, and Outreach.